Alright, so I just got back literally like 5 minutes ago. I just got back from my first lecture of the semester, of the whole year actually, and it was pretty terrible. It was pretty shit. I mean, the whole thing was only like half an hour. Like, they're meant to last an hour, but we all showed up. We were sitting around in this lecture theatre, this like those huge theatres with the seats and shit. We were just sitting there. I was late myself because I got lost, and by the time I showed up, there was only one seat available at the back. So I went and sat there, and we were all just sitting around for like 10 minutes, and eventually this person arrived, and the thing's meant to last an hour. It only lasted half an hour, and it's just like, it was completely pointless. All they said was basically, oh, we're going on a field trip next week, so be ready for that. That was basically the whole thing. Anyway, and the thing that really annoyed me was, again, there was like a couple in there, and the guy, I don't know like why all couples do this. This happened last time. This happened when I was in the pizza place the other day. But the man's always putting his arm around the woman and rubbing her arm. And these guys were doing it as well. They were like 2 rows ahead of me, kind of diagonal from me, like across the aisle, and he was just rubbing her arm, and she was like hunched over, and he was like, there, it's okay, and it's like, what's wrong? Why does he need to comfort her? What's wrong with her? There's nothing wrong. It's like, I just want to sit here and study and throw myself, and I'll talk about this more in a minute, but I just want to throw myself into my studies, because that's like the one thing that I'm good at, the one thing I can actually do, right, without constantly being reminded. Like, it's bad enough that I have to spend my whole life alone, and I'm constantly reminded, having this guy whisper sweet nothings into her ear while I'm trying to take notes. It's ridiculous. It's like, shut up, we're trying to take notes, and we have to watch these two basically almost make love in the fucking lecture hall. It's like, get out of here, And when we were leaving as well, we were walking down these aisles, and these two were in front of me, and they were walking so slowly, and I just wanted to leave, and they were just hobbling around. And then he was like, where do you want to go? And she was like, I don't mind, it's up to you, we can go wherever you want. And I'm just like, oh, just get out my fucking way, But that was pretty annoying. But the main point of this video, the main thing that's happened to me in the last few days, is I was brutally rejected. Like, brutally rejected. Like, this is up there as one of my most brutal rejections I've ever received. I made a video a long time ago called My Most Brutal Rejection, and it was a story time, and that was me talking about something that happened in my youth, when I was in school. But this happened to me like yesterday, and it was just so brutal. I've got to talk about it. So basically, I talked about this before, but the university has this app, right? This is quite a long story, but the university has this app that they made everyone kind of download before we got here, and the idea is that it's like a socializing app, so you get to know people before you arrive, and you're meant to message people, and I messaged a bunch of people, and basically, like, it didn't work. No one's interested in me, but I messaged with this one girl. She messaged me first, and she was kind of weird. I talked about this before, it doesn't really matter, but basically this girl reached out to me, and I was a little bit hopeful, and I had the worst night of my life the other night. I went out to this like terrible college party, and it was just a brutal night. It was just shit. I made a video about that. But with this girl, I thought, this is my last resort here, really, because this is like the only lead I have here. This is the only possible thing I can exploit to maybe have some kind of relationship. So basically I started messaging her again, and I was like, hey, what's up? And it was going pretty well. I thought it was going pretty well. And this is the brutal thing about these kind of rejections, is like, this rejection was more brutal than any rejection I had that night I went out, because they're not personal rejections, it's just, you go up to a girl, no, not interested, well, that's kind of what I expected, it's not a big deal, and you get used to it, especially when you get to a point like me, you get used to it. It's almost expected at a point, right? But these ones are so much more brutal, is because you actually build yourself up, and no matter how black-pilled you get, and I've said this before, the mind will always cling on to a little bit of hope, and it's like, I would just want to let that go, because it's like, I know logically it's not going to work out, I know I'm not going to get with this girl, but my mind still builds it up, and it has all these images, and I'll get to this in a minute, but it just makes it a lot more bitter, it stings more when it's like that. But I was messaging her, and she was basically like, oh, I'm going to this club today, not like a nightclub, but an actual society, do you want to come? And I was like, yeah, sure. So I went out to this club with her, and I didn't actually recognise her, I didn't see her, and I didn't, on the app I don't have like my profile picture set as like my face, obviously, you know, and she did, so I should have recognised her, but I didn't. I thought I saw this girl that was her. It was her. When I came back, she was like, "Oh, you didn't say hi, were you there?" And I was like, "Yeah, I was there, I just didn't recognise you." And I said like I was the guy wearing whatever, and she was like, "Oh, that was you." You know, just brutal, man. But she was like, "Oh, that was you." She was like, "Oh, you're a quiet one, aren't you?" And I was just like, "Yeah, I guess." I said to her, this is why it makes it more brutal, because you get led on as well. It's like, I said to her, "Yeah, you know, I am pretty quiet," but I had a typo, I forgot to say quiet, and I actually did forget to say it, so I just said, "Yeah, I am pretty," and then I corrected myself, but she was like, "Oh, you are pretty," and I was like, "Well, you know, maybe I'm in it, you know, maybe," and this is what I'm saying, hope is like the most powerful drug, because it'll make you do stupid things, it'll keep you going, you know, you can never really get rid of it. No matter how brutally beaten down you are by the world, it will never go away. But she said that to me, and I was just like, well, you know, that's a good sign. And so we got to talking more, and I thought it was going pretty well. And I said, "Hey, you know, do you want to go out sometime tomorrow?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm going to another club." So she goes to like a bunch of different clubs and shit. And so she was like, "Do you want to come to that?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I was there, and I showed up, and she was in like a group of friends there, and they were like, so first of all, there were so many fucking people at this club. It was like an archery club, like an archery event, and there were like probably like 100 people in this like sports hall just waiting, and I was just standing there holding some arrows, and I was like, I don't care about the activity, and I just want to speak to her. And it's like she was there in this little friend group, and she said hey to me, and because like this is my mental cell, like autism kicking in as well, like this shit doesn't help. Even if I wasn't survived, like it's over for me. I'm a mental cell. I just can't interact with people, especially females. But she was like, "Oh, hey," and I said, "Hey," and I just kept walking right past her. I don't know why. I wasn't like 100% sure if it was her. I didn't want to be awkward. I don't know, man. I just overthink this shit, and it's just like, fuck, you know. Anyway, after we'd done the shot these arrows and shit, she was like standing at the back, and I went up to her, and I was like, "Hey," she was like standing next to her friend, so imagine her like friends next to her. And I got up to her, and she's like talking to her friend, and I said, "Hey, you know, is it you and stuff?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's me." And I was like, "Oh, you know, sorry, I wasn't sure and stuff." I was really awkward too. And I was like, "You know, sorry, I wasn't sure if it was you." And she's like, "Oh, it's fine." And then I said to her, "You know, I'm gonna go home now to do some. I don't know. I was gonna go home, so I said, you know, I'm gonna go home, but you know, maybe later. Do you want to go out and stuff?" And she, oh no, I said to her, I said, "I'm gonna go home to do some shopping, get some like groceries and shit in. But later, do you want to, you know, go out sometime?" And she was just talking to her friend, and they went quiet, and her friend like looked at her and was like holding back laughter. This is so fucking brutal, man. She was like holding back laughter, like her face was like quivering, and then she looked at her friend. She didn't look up at me, and they were just quiet. And then I was like, "Oh, did you hear what I said?" And then she said, "Yeah, you're going shopping." And I was just like, "Yep." And I just walked out of there with my tail between my legs, and it's like another rejection. It's, you know, another go, another rejection, you know, same shit, different day, you know, same shit, different day, and I'm used to it by now, but this was really brutal, and she obviously didn't message me, and yeah, I mean, that was it, that was, you know, that's probably my last rejection, I think. I'm not asking, I'm not, like, I give up, you know, like, I know it's not going to happen, I know it's over, I know it's been over for a while, but I at least was going to keep trying, because people are like, "Oh, even if you think it's over, keep trying." And it's like, yeah, well, you know, I will, but it's like, you know, you can only fall flat on your face so many times before you give up, you know, and it's like, it's so demoralizing, it's so humiliating. First of all, it makes you feel like a loser, you feel like a creep. Like she laughed, her friend laughed, because it's like I'm doing something wrong. It's like, you know, it's just like, I'm not trying to go through all that just to be rejected again and again, just for like a bunch of red pill bros to be like, "Oh, bro, just keep going, bro. Just keep going, dude, bro. You just gotta keep asking the girls out, man." It's like, no, I don't, because it's pointless. It's never gonna go anywhere. I give up at this point. And when you give up, when you're like 100% black pilled, like I am now, you can focus on coping in peace, and that's why I'm doing that. That's my aim, that's my objective, basically, for the rest of my life, pretty much at this point, is just to cope in peace. Shit, I mean, yeah, I don't know, because now that, you know, you give up on any hope of getting with a girl, you can focus on other more positive copes, and I'm going to make a video about that in detail, about coping in peace and what my plan is and stuff. But the channel isn't going anywhere, by the way, but I give up with women. This is my last rejection. I'm not going through that. I'm not trying to, like, catch flack from people in real life for just trying to do something that's a totally normal thing, It's like, I'm sub 5 and a mental cell, and I have the gall to desire a relationship with a female, and that's considered, like, a terrible thing by them. I'm not someone that, enjoys being seen as, like, a bad person just because I'm trying to do the right thing, and it's like, I'm not going to go through that, and I'm not going to put myself through that anymore, that torture, that humiliation ritual in front of everyone where I just get, rejected again and again. As for my last video, it was pretty awkward, the morning after. I tried to explain it again to this guy, this Jesse Pinkman guy who lives with me. I tried to explain, like, hey, I didn't mean to leave you and shit. And it, it seems we're all back on the same page pretty much. We're all on decent terms, I guess. So just thank fuck that I didn't lose, like, the only people that I even, like, are close to being my friends here at university, because it would have been truly over. I went out with them again the other night, and I got really, really drunk, really, like, I threw up in my sink and shit. That stank like all shit. Like, the next morning, it was disgusting as well. Fair warning, by the way, you might want to skip ahead by, like, 10 seconds, but I had to, like, fish around the next morning in the sink to, like, unclog the drain, because all bits of food got stuck in it with my, like, hand, because I didn't have anything to do. Oh man, I thought I was going to be sick again. It stank. I had to air my, like, room out and shit. It was awful. Don't drink socially or by yourself as a sub 5, because it's just fuck, man. Anyway, I had a thought the other day that this whole university thing has panned out exactly like my Scotland trip. So for people who don't know, which is probably most people, I got sent by my mum on, like, pretty much like a juvenile, like, detention trip to Scotland, like, a year ago. Not that I did anything wrong, but she, like, signed me up, like, cluelessly. But everyone there who, like, I shared a dorm with, like, 6 people, and half of them had been to, like, juvie, or they'd done something wrong and they got sent there as, like, rehab or whatever. And it's in the middle of nowhere, and a bunch of them are, like, drug users and shit, and I got sent to this fucking camp for 2 weeks, and basically I just got pretty much, like, bullied and socially isolated and had, like, no friends until I had, like, a complete mental breakdown, screaming and crying in front of everyone, and, like, I wanted to go home, but obviously it's in the middle of Scotland, it's, like, in the middle of nowhere, so I'm not going back. So I basically just got given my own room, and I just had to sit in there for, like, a week. And my mum, I came back and I said, like, it wasn't good, and my mum was like, oh, you're ungrateful, we send you away, you just want to fail, and then I was talking about university with my family, and I was like, I'm scared it's going to be like Scotland again, and like, oh no, it's not, don't worry about it, and, like, people in my family who are, like, against my mum. I'm not going to get too much into detail on this, but there are people in my family, there's, like, factionalism in my family, and there's people who are against my mum, and I complain to them about it, and they're like, oh, well, your mum was really stupid to send you that, I don't know why she sent you that, I don't agree, you should have gone straight to university after high school, you shouldn't have, gone to work and stuff, you shouldn't have gotten a job, you should have gone straight to university and stuff, and got a job there and shit. And it's like, yeah, whatever, I'm not trying to get involved in my family politics, but the thing they kept saying to me was like, oh, going to university is going to be nothing like Scotland. Like, I remember I came up on an open day here to the university I'm going to now, and I said to my family, I actually had, like, almost like a deep moment with them, not really, because I can't really be honest with my family, but as close as I could get, and I said to them, look, like, I'm just scared that it's going to be like Scotland, I'm going to be scared that no one's going to like me, I'm going to be socially isolated, I'm going to be, like, really far away from home with no one to, like, rely on, and I'm basically going to have, like, another mental breakdown. And that's exactly what happened. They were like, oh no, it's not going to happen. That is exactly what, it's like history repeated itself almost exactly. Like, I had a mental breakdown to the police, I was, like, screaming and crying on this, like, police officer's shoulder, and, like, I had like my arms wrapped around him, and I was just saying to him, like, all this shit. I mean, I talked about that already, but fuck, that was humiliating. That was really, I was obviously really drunk when I did that, and that's another thing, like, don't drink socially, don't drink out in public, because the shit, you're going to do stupid shit if you're sub 5, and it's like, people are much less forgiving if you're sub 5, so just be careful. Learn from my mistakes, I guess. But yeah, and now I'm basically completely by myself, and it's been a week, and Fresh Todd's week has ended, the lectures have begun, and it's same shit, different day. Like I said, it's the same. My life is a fucking circuit, just going round and round and round, again and again, same shit, different fucking day. Damn. You know what I need to make a video about actually is this 24-hour place, this 24-hour like shop. It's like a little corner store that's pretty near me. It's like within walking distance to my apartment block, and that, first of all, it's like a godsend that that's there, you know. But also the amount of subhumans that congregate at the 24-hour place is it's off the charts. It's actually insane. Like some of the people there, I need to make a video about that. Just brutal Brit cells, you know, just some of the strangest looking people there. I'll go there and I'll record some of the people, not, you know, record like photos and stuff, but I'll go down there and I'll take note of some of the people I see and I'll talk about it. But yeah, especially at night, you know, all the animals come out at night, you know, all the sick people, and it's just disgusting. Yeah, but like I said, I'm now going to throw myself into my studies, because that's like the one thing I thought I was really good at. Like back in school, I was basically like completely self-taught at a point. Like I stopped going into school for like complicated reasons that I'm not going to get into, because no one really cares. It's pretty boring, to be honest. But basically, like, I just taught myself everything, and I did pretty well, you know. I mean, obviously, because I'm at university doing a STEM degree, so I must have done all right. I mean, it's not saying much really. I think any you know, Tom, Dick and Harry can get into university these days, but you know, yeah, that's pretty much it.